geluba naqdoogliyo nugal waa ku darara melay nabadi joogta.
Welcome to ISIRKA. My name's Amina Isir, and join me as I take you on a journey to explore identity, culture, and belonging. Take a seat as I take you through time, space, and various perspectives of cultural identity. Stay tuned to see where the journey will take us today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of ISIRKA. So this episode, I've been kind of sitting on this for a long time. I really wanted to do an episode about Hargeysa, and, time just kind of went. But for a while, I've been thinking about Hargeysa and then actually really paying attention to a lot of the songs that people have done about Hargeysa and kind of putting that up against my own experience of going to Hargeysa. And when I talk about going back home, at this point, it's not even going back to Somalia or Somaliland or kind of really being rooted in the political, social conditions of what exists now. Hargeysa for me really was an opportunity to connect with Somali arts and culture and really gain that connection to cultural heritage, cultural production in the realest way. And Hargeysa definitely was the best city for that. And when I think about my experience of going back home, a lot of what I always really kind of remember is and I think I told what is this at one point or something. I don't know. We were talking about going back home or what I really like about Qarami music, especially older songs as opposed to Heesaha Imika Socda. And Qarami music specifically really reminds me of being back home. You're really rooted in the song. It's kind of slow paced. It takes its time to build up. Any type of old Somali song takes 2 or 3 minutes before the artist even starts singing, because you need time for the beat to kind of build itself. And when you listen to Qarami specifically, when they're playing with the oud, you give the oud its time, and then the artist has their time to sing. And that sense of being really kind of especially against this fast-paced go kind of instant and urgent type of culture that we're living in, it really kind of grounds you back. And then to me it feels like I'm mentally kind of brought back to being Melska Adlan Magalada or Melska Diggin, or maybe when it's late and the city's really quiet and you're just drinking tea somewhere and you're really present in the moment with the people that you're around, bantering, laughing, and really kind of taking in your environment. You can feel I remember the first night that I sat outside in Hargeysa and the weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold, it was very still. And I was sitting on one of those little old, I don't know what they're called, but those little old school stools that were made from probably animal hide and wood. And I always also remember the smoky coal, when they're burning garbage. And I remember sitting there and I said, I can't believe my grandpa left this environment to go to Canada, but also then really kind of sitting in the fact that I was in this space or in the same environment that my ancestors have always lived amongst. And that was something that made me feel very grounded and rooted. So when you see me online, always posting my grandmother or talking about how she gave me the name Isir, which means roots, and that experience of going back home and meeting her allowed me to connect to my roots, to the land, to the people, to the culture. It all kind of ties in even to the music, because that's another way of building that connection to people, land, and culture. Somali markay heesayaan, they're always singing about deegaanka or the land. And Hargeysa especially as Hoyga Fanka, or the home of Somali arts and culture, is a city that is consistently praised via music. So in this episode, I asked some people that I know, kind of what does Hargeysa mean to you, to kind of see what they would say. and what type of memories or feelings would it invoke. So in this episode, I'm going to kind of mix a little bit of that with some songs and really kind of give this offering or this little presentation of Hargeysa, a very complex city, but it's definitely kind of the heart and soul of like Somali culture, Somali people, and it always has a very special connotation to the Somali people. So Hargeysa, I appreciate you for my connection to Somali arts and culture. I appreciate the connection to land, people, and culture. And a big part of why I even started ISIRKA was this experience of really going back home. And I think kind of gaining this connection also allowed me another opportunity to understand how I exist and show up in the world. It was an experience of immense personal growth as well, but I think personal rooting more than anything. And that is something that really still sticks with me all these years later, that Hargeysa really kind of gave me a different sense as to how to show up in the world and move through the world. And I really appreciate that and the community and connections that I've gained from that experience. And, you know, Hargeysa waa hoygii, it's home.
magaalada Hargeysa anadada kunulin la hal mal jirayo halkii laygu dhalay hooyan kuwa babiyo magaalada Hargeysa anadada kunulin la hal mal jirayo waxaan ka doonaa holiflooli baahiyo inta bardugaagu hamiyo walcaba hurdawiga dhaartee kadiga jirtaan bay dhaxantooyga haysaa joolayreer Hargeysa halkadiga jirtaan bay dhaxantooyga haysaa joolayreer Hargeysa
Hargeysa waa hooygii fanka iyo suugaanta, hal-abuurka iyo xadaaradda. Hargeysa waxay nasiib u heshay inay u heesaan fanaaniin ka mid ah mudankii fanka ummaddu sida Saalax Qaasim, Maxamed Mooge Liibaan, Cabdilqaadir Jubba, Xasan Aadan Samatar iyo Saare Axmed Jaamac. Sidoo kale fankii dhexe iyo kii dambaba kaalinta hore ay kaga jirto. Hargeysa waxay ku darsatay sanadii u dambeeyay inay tahay hormuudka qalinka, qoraalka iyo akhriska oo bulshada aad ugu korayay. Hargeysa waa beertii xorriyadda iyo xaramkii barbaarta.
Hargeysa to me is a place I go to connect to myself spiritually, where I look to find what's genuine within me. Hargeysa reminds me of a home I lived within a dream. Hargeysa is the perfect chaos. Hargeysa is a place home to the sun and sunshine. Hargeysa is Shah and Sheko with family and friends while you sit outside waiting for Maghrib prayer, discussing the social fabric of our current society. Hargeysa is the last piece of me I needed to complete myself. Hargeysa is nostalgia and hope of what can and could be. Hargeysa is qasil and hunno. Hargeysa is a place where I come from tribes, sultans, chiefs, in a lineage that dates back centuries. Hargeysa is Beeraha and Qarami. Hargeysa is the literal definition of creating something out of nothing. Hargeysa is a stranger calling you inapti and inader. Hargeysa is unlimited supply of batis and rashids. Hargeysa is sitting by the doha playing my toes against the sand. Hargeysa is unsi and adar.
magaca Hargeysa marka dad badan maqlaan dadka qaar waxa ku soo dhacay inay tahay goob laakiin aniga Hargeysa waxay la tahay dareen waayo Hargeysa waa meeshii ama goobtii aan ku soo qaatay waqtigayga dhalaanimo caruurnimadeedii taasoo xasuusa gaar aniga ile waa meel ay ku nool yihiin dadka kuwa igu dhow soo kala ugu jecel haday noqoto asxaab iyo haday noqoto ehelba Hargeysa waa meel marka magaceedan maqlay farxad iyo xasuus aad u fiican igu soo dhacaan waa goob anu aan aaminsan aniga iga dhigan mid ku caan ah farxad iyo deganaansho haddii ay noqoto waqtiga hadda la joogo iyo taariikh ahaanba sida abwaaniin iyo halabuuro kalaba qireen iyagoo igu heesayeen hargeysa inay tahay hooygii fanka iyo halabuurka. Hargeysa marar badan qofka ka maqnaada ama ka fog waxa uu dareema uu booliyow ama inuu xiisay. taas waxay kaaga dhigan tahay yani in Hargeysa ila tahay meel ku gaara qofka markuu saas kale ku soo xiiso. Hargeysa arki maysid qofku odhanaya in badan baan joogo waan ka xiisa dhahay. Anigu marnaba Hargeysa ma ahay meel aan odhan karayo waqtiga markaan joogay waan ka xiisa dhacay. Laakiin xataa al'aan markaas waxay tahay meel aan jecelahay una booliyo inaan ku noolaado deganaado waqtiga inta iga harsan aan ku qaato. Marka Hargeysa aniga goobay ma ahay waa dareen. Sidoo kale waxaa la yiraahdaa hooygu waa halkii hooyo joogto. Marka aniga Hargeysa waa hooygayga mar labaad maadaama hooyo ay tahay halkay ku nooshahay. Marka Hargeysa aniga dareenkaas gaarka ah ee aan cabiri karayn bay leedahay sidoo kale aan erey ku soo koobi karaynin.
For me, Hargeysa is it's home. It represents home. It represents people, culture, relatives, sense of belonging. Like it just feels like you're home, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't mean it's not a complex city to live. It's very hard to navigate in Hargeysa. You need to learn the ins and outs for you to survive there. It's not straightforward city. So despite not being hard to meet people, but you need to meet the right people. You need to go to the right places at the right time. So you know how to navigate through the city, the system, the government system, how the city operates. You need to understand that. It doesn't take a lot of time, but at first you need to understand that. You need to understand the people. People could be very intrusive, very aggressive, but they can also be very kind, very genuine, generous, funny. So it just needs some time for you to understand the city and its complicity. Hargeysa is, as a city, it's very beautiful, but at the same time, it's a dirty city. Let's just be honest, and the infrastructure lacks majorly. But at the same time, the level of growth is rapid. It's like if you are away for like 1 year, you come back and you will not recognize certain areas. So it's an intriguing city. So my recommendation for you, if you've never been or if you're interested in going, is for you to find out personally. You can never judge Hargeysa by us talking about it. So Hargeysa is good when you experience it and you make your own decision based on the experience you had. So Hargeysa for me it's beautiful, but it comes with a lot of baggage. I have this love-hate relationship with Hargeysa. When I'm in there, I might dislike it, but when I'm out, I definitely miss it.
What does Hargeysa mean to me? Hargeysa means home. Hargeysa is my happy place, especially because of my love for Somali music. There's just this energy, this enjoyment, this appreciation for arts that I can never find anywhere else. The city definitely lives up to its name, Hoyga Funga, meaning home of the arts.
Aniga Hargeysa waxay ii tahay mustaqbal, hooy iyo rajo.
Hargeysa is home. To me, it's home. Even though I come from Berbera, which is not too far away from Hargeysa, it's where I spent most of my teen years. I went to high school and half of my middle school there in Hargeysa. So Hargeysa will always have that special place in my heart. It's part of my formative years. I've spent my formative years back in Hargeysa. Hargeysa sidoo kale, dee waa xaruntii dhaqanka iyo fanka iyo suugaanta Soomaalida, it's the birthplace of modern Somali art, music, and culture. To me personally, Actually, Hargeysa taught me to love all things Somali music and culture. On another note, Hargeysa to me is one of the most resilient and entrepreneurial cities at the same time. Not that many cities can combine those two characteristics. I have grown with Hargeysa. I've watched that town, recover from the ashes of destruction and the civil war, to become, a thriving metropolis. So, that's what it means to me. That's the soul of Hargeysa to me. Hargeysa hadeeliin haddan taalmin weliga. Ya Hargeysa had wanaag.
Hargeysa ayaan ku dhashay, ku koray, malaamad quraanta ka galay, noloshayda inta badan ka soo qaatay. Inka markaa Hargeysa markii aan garaadsaday ee aan malaamad quraanta galay, dabeedna dugsigii hoose ka galay, waan ka tegey, laakiin haddana waxaan ku soo noqday markaan dugsigii dhexe ka soo baxay ayaan Hargeysa ku soo noqday iskuulka Faarax Omar ka galay secondarygii kalaaskii ugu horreeyay dugsiga sare. Nostalgia I have for Hargeysa is still with me. I was writing in English and I wrote in that piece of Berber 1967, 68, 60, I think 67, 68, way back then. What impressed me in that time, at that age, when I came from Dayaha back to Hargeysa, or when I go to Haud, what I remember impressed me more than anything is when you come from the airport, when you come to that Hargeysa, especially nighttime, you see the whole town and you see the lamps and all this. Both ways, when the car comes at nighttime, you see the whole. So in English, I wrote that time, I say, those lights, glittering lights, look like a dew on a green grass in the morning. Teacher was so happy with it. He told me, though I had a very poor handwriting, he said, put your piece of whatever you wrote on the bulletin board so all the other kids in the school can read it. What I remember most is Hargeysa looked a paradise when I was, I started school 1962, grade 1. And I started in Malhamada earlier than that. So when you leave, it doesn't matter if you go to the Nasablot, if you go to the airport area, Buraha, if you go to the shop area, there was all kinds of wild animals. And not really, I don't remember seeing lions or tigers or elephants and all that. But, we see, there was, the deers, the rabbits, you name it. When the rainy season, the whole town was so really, you see everywhere you go, there was, especially rainy season, you see wildflowers, all colors. Also, you see these wild fruits and vegetables at the same time. So when we used to go, and when we were kids, you go to the shop area, you got this, we used to get all these kind of wild vegetables, Hargeysa waxa weeye meel aad iyo aad iyo aad iyo aad cimiladoodu u fiican tahay. Waxay ahayd meel barwaaqa oo markuu roobku doo durdurada dooxa maartay. Dooxaasoo markuu roobku doo waxay lahayd inaan halkan iminka dee shacabka liska iminka malaa guuleed baaba hodheel guuleed baa ku yaala waxaa lahaan jirtay balliyaanu ku dabaalano markuu gugi doo oo ka ugu caasada fure ayaa la odhan jiray waxay lahayd markaad shacabka tagto waadhaa iyo sidaad midhaha u guranayso inaan meel barwaaqa ah oo hawadu fiican tahay oo gaadhigii ingiriisku kaga tegay weli aanu daxalaysan hargeysa waxa weeye intii aan noolaa intaan dhul marayay maraykan muddo badan baan deganaa 40 sannadood gobollo badan baan tegey yurubama dhul badan baan ka tegey afrika baanan aada u tegin hargeysa wax la hawaa oo la quruxa oo la caafimaad weli maan arag.
When I think Hargeysa, the first thing I think is home. I think about being awoken every morning by the adhan and a strong, warm breeze blowing through my window. I think about being welcomed with open arms by family and friends, and the sweet treats and the biscuits, and the many live performances. I think about the busy crowds with heavy foot traffic, and the cars that are honking their horns, and then the animals that are finding their ways into those crowds. I think about the camels that roam the edges of town, and the first word I think of is opportunity, because opportunities are in abundance. Hargeysa is a place where there is truly never a dull moment, and the last thing I think as I board a plane to leave is I'm leaving home.
So just to switch it up real quick, that was Sahara Ahmed, Ilai Nahristo, one of my favorite artists. And so in this song coming up, there was a point in time where I hardly even understood what she was saying in this song. But I feel like a lot of times when you think about Hargeysa as the city of resistance, the city that kind of literally like this phoenix that rose up from the ashes and built itself up to be what it is now. What you heard Zuhur talking about was about the rapid development in the city. Hadad sanad ka maqantay dan magala cusub baad u umanaysa. Hargeysa, when I was there in 2016, I just remember how I was trying to kind of see what existed from what my parents knew. And there wasn't too many physical remnants of that. But there was so much that was becoming. And there was so much that people experienced there. And I was like, dang, like Hargeysa is a city of resistance. And how come nobody's really kind of like documenting or archiving these stories? So, and Sahara Ahmed, you know, when the war happened and stuff like that, and people were liberated, like, they asked her, where were you, you know? Like, did you flee? And she said, no, I stayed right here in Berta Horiyada, or like the Freedom Garden. And so she was a G, absolutely. So this song, Hargeysa Hadelian, is her song. And in this song, with the same kind of like G spirit or resilient, like determined, like gangsta-ass spirit, she tells Hargeysa as well, don't fall, you know, and kind of sings its praises and really kind of urges the city to also kind of continue and, you know, kind of hold it down.
Hargeysa
Wanted to include this song, and I spent a whole summer singing this song and playing it like as loud as possible as I drove through the city, or I mean I didn't drive, but as I kind of rode through the city. And hearing this song always really kind of takes me back to that summer. But also more than that, it really is like another song from one of my favorite singers, but just like a really kind of beautiful praise song that kind of speaks a little bit more to the history of the city. And it's good vibes. Like, I'm here for it.
شرح لي وشني ملك سمايسيو وديه وشريا بالامباليس شرح لي وشني ملك سمايسيو وديه وشريا عوابري اركو شقا قحلي تاتكو شقا قحلي انا شمبيرها عيدوديو راها شكا ديسي شاما غير كتيريا يا دي شرفكو زليدة هرقيسا
songs that I could have added, but these are a couple of my favorites, and this one particularly I've been watching a lot, and is one of my favorites. So the previous song was Abdulqadir Chupa, Hargeysa Hargeysa Qade, and this one that I'll kind of finish this episode off with is Awala Adin. And if you watch him performing, he's a great performer. He's like so like dramatic, for lack of a better word. He really kind of embodies the song. And what this song, I think more than kind of the others, or more than any other song about Hargeysa, like they always talk about Hoigi Fanka, but he emphasizes, with all of his body language, wa meshi ugu horeyse hornimada, like the first Somali city to declare its independence from the colonizers. And so even now when you kind of look at Hargeysa's history and what Hargeysa is doing, I'm always like, there's one thing I will never take away from Hargeysa is that they will always have this self-awareness, basically the gall and the gusto to proclaim how their future is going to look like. And so with that, I'll end off this little episode about Hargeysa, Hoigi Fanka, the first Somali city to be independent, the city that continuously shows us by its example that the people have a right to define themselves in the ways in which they choose to live. And I'm not going to say anything else on politics, but the people of Hargeysa are still doing their thing. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for more ISIRKA.
ku kala naqroono